Hey, welcome back to the Cybersecurity Whisperer for the week of August 4th. Well, good luck to everyone who is heading to Vegas this week for some combination of BSides or BlackHat and defcon. Oh man, I sure hope it's better traffic than it was last year and much cooler. I won't be making it myself this year. Too many conflicts, but hope to make it out there next year. So send us any thoughts and photos and such from BlackHat. It'd be interesting always to see what the latest and greatest trends are. In the news this week, Microsoft had a massive Azure outage that they say was caused by a distributed denial of service attack. They confirmed they had a 9-hour outage on Tuesday, which took down and disrupted multiple 365 and Azure services worldwide. And again, they said that the outage impacted Microsoft Entra or Azure AD, some Microsoft 365 and Purview services, including Intune, Power BI, Power Platform, as well as Azure App Services, Application Insights, IoT Central, Log Search Alerts, Policy, and Portal. Man, the company confirmed in a mitigation statement that the root cause was a DDoS attack, although it's yet to link to any specific actor group. And they said it was... Here's what's interesting. They said while the initial trigger was a DDoS attack, which activated their DDoS protection mechanisms, they had an error, kind of sounds like CrowdStrike, they had an error in the implementation of their defenses, which just further amplified the impact of the attack rather than mitigating it. So, I mean, this was critical. Again, many companies use 365, especially for their email, and they were down, not all of them, but some of those companies were down for 9 hours. So it goes back to just like the CrowdStrike outage. What would you do? Have you tested your disaster recovery plan if you're without email, say, for 9 hours? And more not so good news, Dark Angels ransomware received a record-breaking $75 million payment. A Fortune 50 company paid a $75 million ransom to the Dark Angels ransomware gang, according to a report this week put out by Zscaler Threat Labs. In early 2024, Zscaler uncovered a victim who paid Dark Angel $75 million, higher than any publicly known amount. And so certainly this is going to attract the bad guys. They're going to look to replicate this by adopting whatever tactics they used. This payment was again confirmed. You can look in the crypto wallets. It was confirmed by crypto intelligence company Chain Analysis, who tweeted about it on X. The largest known ransom payment prior to that was $40 million, which insurance company CNA paid after suffering an Evil Corp ransomware attack. Now, again, Zscaler didn't share what company paid the $75 million ransom. They mentioned the company, again, was a Fortune 50 company and that it happened early in 24. And we do know one Fortune 50 company that suffered a cyber attack in February of this year is pharmaceutical giant Cencora. They ranked number 10 on the list. No ransomware gang ever claimed responsibility for that attack. And so that usually means the ransom was paid. If you're not familiar with Dark Angels, they're a ransomware operation that was launched in May of 22. And they, like most human-operated ransomware gangs, they breach corporate networks, move laterally until they eventually gain admin access, and then they're also stealing data, from your compromised servers during that time, and that's used later as additional leverage when they're making those ransom demands. They typically gain access to the domain controllers, and then they deploy ransomware to encrypt all the devices on the network. When they launch, they use Windows and VMware ESXi encryptors, based on the Babook ransomware, and then over time they switched to a Linux encryptor that was the same one used by the Ragnar locker since 2021, and that Ragnar locker was disrupted by law enforcement in 23. Now here's a wild and crazy one: echo spoofing. A massive phishing campaign that was exploiting Proofpoint's email protection to dispatch millions of perfectly spoofed emails. If you're not familiar, Proofpoint is one of the largest email security gateway companies. They have been around for a very long time. And in fact, they are used to secure 87 of the Fortune 100 companies. A company called Guardio Labs uncovered this critical exploit in Proofpoint's email protection service, and they dubbed it echo spoofing. And this issue allowed threat actors to dispatch millions of perfectly spoofed phishing emails, leveraging Proofpoint's customer base of well-known companies, talking about Disney, IBM, Nike, Best Buy, Coca-Cola. The emails echoed from one official Proofpoint email relays with authenticated SPF and DKIM signatures, thus bypassing major security protections, all to deceive recipients and steal funds and credit card details. So, if you think about it, just a few years ago, spoofing an emails from header was straightforward. You could write whatever you wanted. Nowadays, security protocols require emails to be sent from approved senders and authenticated with domain's private DKIM encryption key. And this is all aligned with the domain mentioned in the from header. And yet, threat actors still manage to launch large-scale phishing email campaigns swiftly, taking hold again of these major brands that were Proofpoint customers or that are. And so this team of researchers, they uncovered this massive phishing campaign that takes spoofing to the next level. They successfully sent millions of emails that appeared to be from these companies that were all properly signed and authenticated. So what happened was that they realized that when they were looking at the headers, they realized that they were able to, the way that Proofpoint email security works is they send all of your emails through their servers. And so all of the from addresses were coming from the Proofpoint relay servers, pp hosted or proofpointhosted.com. And so when they discovered it, these researchers, they did the right thing. They didn't tell anyone. They contacted Proofpoint in May of this year, May of 24, to share their findings. And then Proofpoint responded to them within hours, and they began working together. Now, Proofpoint told them they had been aware of this since March of this year, and they already started tracking it, and they were proactively reaching out to the customers that were impacted. And so, they said that while these accounts, have remained active for over 7 months, they have been able to work to disrupt the scammers' operations and make it more challenging for them to continue. So again, if you are a Proofpoint customer, certainly you would have been reached out to by now, hopefully. But you need to make sure how you're sending these emails, and they tell you how to further tighten down and protect those from going out. Now, in some good news, NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, they released a new tool this week to check AI model security. And so it allows developers to determine what types of attacks would make an AI model perform less effectively. They call it Dioptra, and it's open source, so it's free to download. Testing the effects of adversarial attacks on machine learning models is one of the goals of Dioptra. It's this new software package aimed at helping AI developers and customers determine how well their AI software stands up to a variety of adversarial attacks. Again, it's available for free download. It can also help developers of AI systems quantify the performance reduction of a model so that they learn how often and under what circumstances the system would fail. And finally, I have a lot of folks reaching out asking about security for your phones. Do you install some sort of antivirus or endpoint detection on your phones? And this is a timely article this week. If you run an Android phone of any sort, there's a new malware called Bingo Mod. It is a remote access Trojan that uses your phone to set up money transfers. The app is spread via a text message, and it pretends to be security software, of course. It gets worse. Once it's done stealing from you, the operators remotely wipe your entire phone. They delete your entire phone, everything on it. Android came out a few days ago and said, hey, Android users are automatically protected. Google came out and said this, that Android users are automatically protected against known versions of the malware as long as you've got Google Play Protect turned on, and that is on by default when you buy an Android device with Google Play services. Again, this is known versions. Like most malware, Bingo Mod is still evolving and working on new tricks to evade detection. Play Protect isn't going to rest on its laurels, so it's just a cat and mouse game like normal in terms of changing signatures and hashes and stuff. And so you just need to make sure you're using best practices when you're downloading and installing your apps. Getting malware on your phone, it's just a recipe for a bad day. There's certainly a lot of awful things that can happen, and so the malware may be interested in exploiting its position on your device to send spam texts or mine crypto. So it's moving from computers to your phones. But the really dangerous stuff, again, just wants to straight up steal from you. And so that's what this Bingo Mod does. It was first spotted in May, and it's spread again via SMS phishing. You're going to get a text that masquerades like a security tool. And one of the icons that it looks like or it dresses itself up as is AVG antivirus. So you may get a text that says, hey, you need to install AVG antivirus. Once it's on your phone, of course, it requests access to Android accessibility services, which it uses to get its hooks in for the remote controlling your device. And then the goal is to set up money transfers. It'll steal login data with a keylogger, and your confirmation code by intercepting, SMS text messages. And then when it has the credentials and access, the threat actor will actually start transferring money out of your bank accounts, out of your savings account. It currently supports English, Romanian, and Italian. And, if you think this sounds bad, it is. But again, besides the numerous tricks it uses to evade automatic detection, again, it's got a doomsday weapon. It's ready to deploy after achieving its goals. It wipes your phone. And so, it supports a built-in command line for wiping your phone and your data, but that's really limited to external storage. And so that's not going to cover its tracks like they want to do. So when they're done stealing from you, just like, you would when you get rid of an old phone, they manually, someone there manually will manually wipe your phone completely. And so again, if you're, don't install software from sketchy text messages. I would say from any text message, and really, make sure you get your apps from the official app stores, and you should be protected from this. Again, lots of great information. Appreciate your comments and your likes, and we'll chat with you next week.